I came from a small farm in Illinois, and eventually, in an effort to get into something where I could be in charge of something, manage and supervise, I joined the Air Force. I got a direct commission as a second lieutenant, and at that time, being in the military was far different than it is today in terms of what you were able to do and the opportunities that existed for you. For example, basically, women were in either the medical area or administrative, and I fell into the latter sector, the administrative. And you couldn't aspire to be a general because the law said that women could not be generals. And there was only one colonel's position for non-nurse women in the Air Force, and there was one colonel position for nurses, the chief of the nurse corps. And I wasn't a nurse, so my aspiration might have been the others. But there were lots of opportunities to do things. I was interested in traveling. I got to travel, and I did get, sometimes it almost seemed more responsibility than I was interested in. I was very fortunate in that I got to go to Spain and spend 4 years, which is a wonderful time of my life. I spent a year in Vietnam, 6 months on Guam, and 10 years in the Washington, D.C. area, 4.5 years in the Pentagon. So it was an interesting career that I had. After I retired in 1985, after being the commander of the Department of Defense Military Entrance Processing Command, after about a few months after I retired, I was asked to be on the board of directors of the Women in Military Service Memorial Foundation, and the objective of that foundation was to build a memorial honoring all the women who'd ever served. And after I had been on the board about 2 months, I was elected president, which I have been ever since. So that's been now 26 years that I have been doing that. We raised money, and finally, after 10 years, we were able to dedicate the memorial. So since then, we have been busy trying to get women registered for the memorial, to keep doing everything we can to tell the story of women's service so that the women serving today know what the legacy of service is, and so that those who served yesterday see recognition of what they did, of how they helped blaze the trail and give opportunities to people like me and to those who serve today. Well, my passion at the moment continues to be, as it has been for 26 years, to raise money for the memorial, so that first, to get it built, and second, so that it continues to be open and in operation. And my second passion is to get the word out to women everywhere who served in the military, or who have family members who served that are women who served in the military, so that they can be registered, have their story told, and so that as a nation we can pay tribute to those women. One of the things that's particularly inspirational to me is the fact that we have over 252,000 women now registered at the memorial. And every day I have an opportunity to read those registrations, read those memorable experiences. And as I read what some of the women did, the obstacles they were confronted with, how they overcome them, let me tell you, that is inspirational. And it's inspirational to me in another sense, because I do a lot of public speaking to groups of people. And I can go to those experiences of other people and relay them to the audiences so that they get an understanding of what military women have done, and that you can meet up with barriers and obstacles and you can overcome them, and that you can go on with your life and succeed when maybe you were about to give up. It's a very difficult question for me to answer about what I think is so important to pass on to somebody else, because I have learned so much in my life, in my career, but something I've always felt that was particularly important to pass on to other people, to encourage them to do, and that's to get educated. And that can mean anything. It can mean in school, it can mean from other people, but particularly important is reading, because if you keep reading, you'll keep learning. And as I think about that, the second thing that I would stress is being willing to volunteer. Because when you volunteer, this may lead you into something that you never would have ever had an opportunity to do. And it gives you visibility. And it can give you confidence at later times in your life. So those two things are the two things that I think that I would mention.